Welcome back, everybody. I hope that you're having a great week and that you're enjoying the sunshine we're getting for now. I know that on Halloween evening, it's supposed to rain around the time that a lot of kids are going out. So fingers crossed, everybody will be safe, but it won't spoil our fun. It's always enjoyable for me to see the different costumes and see the kids so happy and maybe a little sugared up as well, trying to get them to sleep that night. Who knows what Friday is going to look like, but I'm doing well and hope you are also. This last Sunday, we kickstarted maybe our Halloween celebration. As you know, we had our costume parade and it was a lot of fun, a lot of laughter, a lot of music, a lot of bright colors. We had puppets. It was just full and wonderful. We had the strings. It was just so much fun. We had guitars that come to think of it, that's a lot to have in one service. So it was a robust service, but I felt all the good energy coming out. I saw people smiling and laughing, and it's the way you want to exit a service. In my sermon, I spoke about what we might call here a device that Jesus uses. Namely, you've heard it said, but I say. It's a way of pivoting that acknowledges the value of the prior statement. And I tried to address that. I don't want to disparage proportional retaliation. It's quite frankly still a fixture in most legal systems around the world. Maybe not literally or exactly, but I think there's a sense of fairness that we try to apply to any act of justice. And proportional retaliation, certainly 3,000 years ago, made as much sense as anything else. In fact, it was probably quite forward thinking, within its time and place. But Jesus takes what would have been a perfectly reasonable judicial understanding and extends it, challenges us to go beyond what is reasonable to what is possible, to what we can imagine, to the world we want to live in, which is not a world where everybody's out here taking out one eye for another, as the phrase goes. Instead, Jesus wants us to imagine a world where we are forgiving, where we're doing the opposite of what is expected. Because what is expected very often, if you brush up against me, or let's say we're in traffic, right? That's the real heated spots in this world. You're out there driving and somebody cuts you off. Your first instinct is to kind of aggressively respond to them. Maybe not in your car behind the steering wheel, but verbally. But Jesus invites us in this passage from which we read to consider letting that be and even offering more of yourself, right? In some ways, Jesus wants us to challenge the aggressive action or the action that's inconsiderate or just malicious. Jesus wants us to challenge that by doing the unexpected, by praying for those who persecute us, by loving our enemies. That's actually a scripture verse that just follows the lectionary, but it's connected to what we read. These are not easy statements, and I don't think we're ever going to get them right all of the time, or even most of the time, quite frankly. However, we are always challenged by them. We are always exhorted. We are always called to aspire to that kind of world, which is predicated on forgiveness, extravagant welcome, offering ourselves over to those that may not fully appreciate it. It's a risk. And I don't think there's any way we can avoid taking that risk as people of faith. We are already taking that risk, actually, because we come here. We dare to believe in a different world. We dare to imagine another way. That's what Jesus is inviting us to consider every day of our lives when he says, "You have heard it said." He could just have easily said, "You've heard the news," right? Or you've read your scripture. You've heard the elders. You've heard those, persons that have tried to pass on some kind of moral rule to you. You've heard that. You see that every day. But I'm telling you, there's another way. Now, just as in Jesus' own time and place, people probably scoffed and easily dismissed him or quickly dismissed him, I think similarly it would happen to us today, but we are still called to do that, to do the unthinkable, the unreasonable, the at times even unimaginable, because it's the impossible that we're after here. It is the miraculous. And the miraculous is hard, it's laborious, it's difficult, it's going to take all that we have and more, which is why we need grace. So I hope you can be comforted by this, right? Don't worry, you don't have to get it right all the time, but you are called to think beyond, to live beyond, to imagine beyond what you think is possible or reasonable. That is the way of Christ. Thank you so much for joining us today. I look forward to seeing you next week.